Thank you for attending Decision-Making Options, what you need to know as a support coordinator or provider. This training is brought to you by the Office of Provider Development at the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. In today's training, we will cover information related to 2 codes in Virginia regarding capacity and decision-making. We will also talk about the 3 C's: capacity, competency, and consent. We will review the different types of decision-making options in Virginia, as well as go into depth about supported decision-making. And finally, we will look at codes, regulations, and resources related to the information discussed in this training. There are several laws and regulations in Virginia important to decision-making. However, we will talk about just 2 of them right now. The first one on the screen is the law that says that in Virginia, everyone who is 18 years or older is presumed to have capacity, regardless of whether or not they have a disability. This means that everyone 18 years or older can make decisions on their own and has all of the same legal rights as every other adult, even if they have a disability. The second reference listed is part of Virginia's human rights regulations. It says that all people have the right to participate in their decision-making process, and it must be meaningful participation. Just sitting at a meeting where everyone talks about you but never talks to you is not meaningful participation. Supported decision-making agreements help people make sure that the decision maker actively participates in decisions about all parts of their life and is supported in using their legal, civil, and human rights. Now, let's learn about the 3 C's. These 3 words can be very confusing. I'm going to give a very brief overview of them, but there are links to websites where you can find more information at the end of this training. First, we will start with capacity. Capacity is the ability to understand information important to the decision or choice, use the information in a way that makes sense in order to make a decision or choice, and then communicate your decision or choice to other people. It is up to others to be able to understand how a person communicates. Capacity is used in clinical or healthcare settings. You will usually hear people talk about whether or not someone has the capacity to decide if they want medical treatment or surgery, or if someone has the capacity to agree to receiving supports or services. There's also legal capacity, where someone would petition the court for legal guardianship of someone, and the court would determine that an individual lacks capacity. This is usually referring to global capacity or not having capacity to make decisions in all aspects of their life. As we discussed earlier, in Virginia, capacity is presumed for everyone 18 years or older, even if they have a disability. Capacity is a spectrum. It is different from person to person and can change based on what is currently going on or when something is happening. Just stating lacks capacity is not a complete sentence. You might not have capacity in one area of life, but not in another at any time. Capacity also does not pertain to making a good choice. If this were the case, none of us would likely have capacity. Capacity is determined by a licensed professional and typically through an evaluation or test, such as an 8 capacity evaluation. It should be reevaluated often depending on the specific situation and changes in the person's ability to make decisions. People can use supported decision-making to help them gain capacity or increase their understanding in parts of their life, as people can help them understand their choices so that they can make an informed decision. Next, we'll talk about competency. Competency is a legal term that means the ability to do something successfully or well, such as making important decisions. Your ability to do this typically does not change over time or based on the specific task or question. A judge has to declare someone incompetent in order for them to have a legal guardian or conservator. This means that the person is not able to make decisions on their own and someone is appointed to be responsible for making these decisions for them. There are no guidelines or rules on the types of tests used to determine this at this time, but lawyers must give judges documents from medical doctors, psychologists, or others to prove that the person is not able to make decisions on their own and won't ever be able to do so. People should give a lot of thought before starting the legal guardianship process, as it is much more difficult to reverse this by restoring competency in someone's rights than it is to take them away. People that do not have legal competency are not able to enter into supported decision-making agreements. However, by law, guardians should think about what the person wants and make decisions in the best interest of the person. This means not making decisions because they are easier for the guardian or the other people supporting the person. Lastly, let's talk about consent. There are two types of consent: simple consent and informed consent. Simple consent is when someone makes decisions about regular activities during the day, such as what to eat, what to wear, and what to do. People might not have to think very hard about these choices. Informed consent is when someone makes decisions or choices about things that involve some risk, such as taking a new medicine, moving to a new apartment, or starting a new service. When giving informed consent, people think about all of the possible options, the risks involved in each option, and how each option might affect them before they make their final decision. People have to have capacity, or that first C word we talked about, in order to give informed consent. And sometimes you have to write or document your decision on a form that you sign. Some examples are forms at the doctor's office saying it's okay for them to provide care or treatment, contracts for services received, or leases for renting an apartment or a car. We all use supported decision-making at some point in our lives when we provide informed consent. At some point, we have spoken with someone we trust or a professional who knows a lot about a specific topic in order to learn and better understand our options, the risks, the possible effects of each option before making our final decision. This slide shows the different types of decision-making options that we will talk about today. It is broken into supported decision-making options and substitute decision-making options. Supported decision-making options are usually seen as being least restrictive, as they give individuals the ability to make decisions themselves and they keep their legal rights. Examples of this include powers of attorney, advanced medical directives, and supported decision-making agreements. Substitute decision-making options are often viewed as being more restrictive, as they can take away people's rights and other people are making decisions on behalf of someone else. Examples of this include conservatorships, full and limited legal guardianship, and authorized representatives. This graphic shows Virginia's continuum of decision-making supports, from least restrictive to most restrictive. Additionally, Virginia's state codes and regulations are cited for easy researching. A supported decision-making agreement is the formal process of documenting who an individual wants to support them, and what areas of life they want support, and how they want to be supported. Supported decision-making agreements are comprised of two people at a minimum: the person making decisions and the person providing support. Virginia Code provides the following definitions. Principal: an adult with an intellectual or developmental disability who seeks to enter or has entered into a supported decision-making agreement with a supporter. In the documents that we have drafted for Virginia and throughout this training, we refer to the principal as the decision maker because we felt it better described the individual and their role. Next is supporter. A supporter is a person who has entered into a supported decision-making agreement with the principal. Supporters can be family, friends, or anyone else the decision maker chooses, and may be different depending on the situation. For example, a decision maker might select different supporters for different decisions involving finances than they would decisions about medical issues, education, housing, or even decisions about employment. Also, the type of support they provide might be different, as one supporter might discuss options with the decision maker, while another supporter attends meetings and communicates on behalf of the decision maker. The specific situations and topics someone serves as a supporter for and the level of support they provide can be detailed in a written agreement called the Supported Decision-Making Agreement. All participants must agree to the terms of the Supported Decision-Making Agreement. In Virginia, we also provide the option of identifying a Supported Decision-Making Agreement facilitator. However, this is not a requirement. A supported decision-making facilitator can be one of your supporters or someone else. They are responsible for helping to oversee the supported decision-making agreement and ensuring that supporters do what they agree to. Both the supporters and the facilitator are not paid to serve in these roles. They are agreeing to be natural supports, but in a more formalized role. They also do not have the ability to sign for the individual or decision maker, consent to services, or make decisions for them. Remember, the decision maker, who is the individual with the disability, has all of the same rights as you and I, and they make all decisions for themselves. Typically, the decision maker will meet with people that they trust to think about what areas of life they want help in, how they want to receive help, and who they want help from. Anyone can help the decision maker with this process and can help fill out a supported decision-making agreement. In Virginia, supported decision-making agreements are not legally binding documents, meaning someone cannot sue a supporter for not fulfilling their agreed-upon role, and they are not overseen or monitored by a specific entity. However, it is important to remember that the decisions made by the decision maker should be followed and enforced, even if supporters do not agree with them, as that is the decision maker's right. This gives people the flexibility to create, use, and change their supported decision-making agreement without there being too many rules or regulations which might cause people not want to use them. Supported decision-making agreements can be created, updated, or revoked at any time. If the decision maker decides that they no longer want to work with a particular supporter or they want to add a new supporter, they can do that. If a supporter decides this might not be the best fit for them, or they cannot give the decision maker the level of support they need, they can notify the decision maker and remove themselves as a supporter. Also, the decision maker can decide that they no longer want a supported decision-making agreement altogether. There are forms that go along with the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template that help document any changes to the agreement. One of the most important aspects of the supported decision-making agreement is that the decision maker retains all of their rights. This includes the right to make all decisions. They can use their supporters to help them understand their options when making a decision. However, the decision maker is the one that makes all final decisions. A power of attorney is a document that lists a person or multiple people someone selects to help make decisions about their care or different parts of their life. The person selected is called the agent. People can have an agent for medical decisions, financial decisions, educational decisions, and so on. They might be the same person or they might be different people. All of the information related to the duties of an agent is formally written in a document, which can be completed with an attorney or using general templates. It is important that the person or people selected to be an agent agree to do this. In Virginia, it's important to know that all power of attorney documents are considered to be durable unless otherwise written so. A durable power of attorney means that an agent retains the ability to make decisions for the person if the person is incapacitated or is not able to make decisions on their own at a specific time. An advanced medical directive, also known as an advance directive, is a formal document that states what medical and/or psychiatric care someone wants in various situations, should they be found to lack capacity or be incapacitated. Someone can also assign people to make these decisions for them on this document. This can be completed with a medical professional, an attorney, online, or even with some case managers. Again, it's important that the person or people selected to help agree to do this. Virginia also has an online registry where you can upload your advanced medical directive in order for all medical professionals or hospitals to see it in the event of an emergency. A representative payee is someone who handles and oversees someone's finances for them. It can be someone they know, or it can be someone assigned by the Social Security Administration. The purpose of this person is to ensure that their financial matters are cared for responsibly. People can have a representative payee even if they have legal capacity. All matters related to the representative payee are outlined in a legal document, typically completed through the Social Security Administration, that says what a representative payee can and cannot do. Someone can also set up a fiduciary who helps manage their finances and assets beyond what Social Security benefit someone has. This is typically set up through a lawyer. You might sometimes hear the term legally authorized representative. This means a person appointed by the court system, such as a legal guardian or conservator. For our purposes, I'm going to define who an authorized representative is from the standpoint of DBHDS and any DBHDS license provider. An authorized representative is someone permitted to consent to treatment, services, or to the release of information to others for someone else. People can request to have an authorized representative even if they have capacity. However, oftentimes specific providers will request an aid to capacity evaluation if they have concerns about an individual's ability to consent to their specific services. If an individual is found to lack capacity, then the provider will request to appoint an authorized representative. The person appointed as the authorized representative is someone that the individual and the provider agree upon. The authorized representative can only make decisions regarding the services offered by the specific provider. Therefore, each provider needs to take the necessary steps to evaluate capacity and assign their own authorized representative. Regulations also state that the appointment of an authorized representative should be reevaluated every 6 months at a minimum, or more frequently if the individual's status changes. Please see human rights regulations linked later on in this training for more information and guidance. The next 3 types of representatives all involve the court. A limited legal guardian makes decisions for someone else only for specific topics or life areas which are noted in the guardianship order provided by the court. This can be temporary or lifelong. An individual has to be 18 years or older and must be deemed legally incompetent by the court. In order to obtain a limited legal guardian, you would petition your local circuit court or go through the public guardianship program through DARS, which is for individuals who need legal guardianship representation but do not have anybody in their life that can serve as this guardian. A full legal guardian is someone appointed by the court to make all decisions for someone else once the court has found them to be legally incompetent. When this occurs, the individual typically loses all of their rights. A full legal guardian can either be temporary or long-term. An individual has to be at least 18 years old in order to have a full legal guardian and, again, be deemed legally incompetent by the court. A full legal guardian can be obtained by petitioning your local circuit court, as well as going through the public guardianship program at DARS. Individuals who have diagnoses of intellectual or developmental disabilities would go through their local community service board in order to be put on the waiting list for the public guardianship program. And finally, a conservator is a person appointed by the court to handle all financial matters for someone else. This is different from the representative payee, as conservators are court-ordered after an individual is found to be incompetent. whereas someone who is legally competent can have a representative payee if they want one. Conservatorships can also be limited or temporary. Again, you have to be 18 years old or older to have one and have a court find you to be legally incompetent. This would be done through petitioning your local circuit court or going through the public guardianship program at DARS. Everyone receives supports with making decisions, not just people with disabilities. Many people with disabilities are able to live independent lives and make important decisions through the use of supported decision-making. The American Bar Association defines supported decision-making as a decision-making model in which an individual makes decisions with the support of trusted individuals. Supported decision-making helps individuals with disabilities to maximize their self-determination by making the ultimate decision regarding their supports and services, while also receiving assistance by those that they trust to ensure they receive all of the information needed to make an informed decision. Least restrictive alternatives should always be considered first before more restrictive substitute decision-making options such as legal guardianship. While Virginia currently has regulations stating who can and cannot have a supported decision-making agreement, anyone can use the concept of supported decision-making to help when making decisions. In Virginia, there are 4 principles for supported decision-making. Number 1, that every individual should be presumed capable of making his or her own decisions. Number 2, when an individual requires assistance in making decisions, the least restrictive option that meets the individual's needs should be pursued, and every effort should be made to maximize the individual's autonomy and independence. Number 3, supporters, guardians, substitute decision makers, and other agents should always take into consideration an individual's expressed personal preferences to the extent appropriate. And number 4, making good decisions takes practice and individual growth. Everyone should have the opportunity to learn and grow from making poor decisions. This is sometimes called the dignity of risk. Poor decision-making should not be motivation for restricting an individual's rights through guardianship or other substitute decision-making options. The practice of supported decision-making will look different from person to person based on their individual needs and preferences. It involves the individual with a disability as well as people that they trust and who know them well. If an individual receives paid supports and services, those providers can also be a part of the supported decision-making process. By taking a strengths-based approach, you work with the mindset that people with disabilities have the ability to learn, think, and understand. Sometimes people, even those without disabilities, need help developing these skills, and supported decision-making can help with this. Using person-centered practices gives people the opportunity to learn an individual's preferences, how they communicate, and how they learn best. These practices fall in line with the Americans with Disability Act, which requires state and local governments, as well as anyone who provides service to the public, to communicate with individuals with disabilities just as effectively as they would with someone without a disability. This means providing alternative means of communication for anyone with communication disabilities. This can include having written documents, pictures, and auxiliary aids, to name a few. The Americans with Disabilities Act website provides more details on the types of communication aids that should be provided. Understanding how someone best receives information and how they communicate to others is key to supported decision-making. While not everyone who uses supported decision-making has a developmental disabilities waiver, it is important for those that do to know that HCBS, or the Home and Community-Based Services, also dictates that individuals receiving Medicaid home and community-based services must have every opportunity to live with the same rights, freedoms, and degree of self-determination, and have the opportunity to integrate within their community as anyone not receiving Medicaid home and community-based services. The practice of supported decision-making is proven to increase self-determination for individuals with disabilities. Practically speaking, when you are supporting someone using the concept of supported decision-making, it means that you have taken the time to learn and understand how the individual best obtains information and learns. You also know how the person communicates their thoughts and desires to others. Once you know these things, you ensure that whatever tools or accommodations are needed for someone to learn and communicate are available. Then, when a situation arises in which the individual needs support with making a decision, you are clear about what you do and do not know about that topic. It is important that everyone has the opportunity to make an informed decision. When providing support through the supported decision-making process, you help the individual think about and understand all possible choices, the benefits and risks involved with each choice, and the possible long-term impact of each choice. If it's not a topic that you are able to effectively support the individual in, or it is a topic that could be seen as a conflict of interest, such as a residential provider supporting someone with moving into a new home, then please be honest about this and tell the individual that you cannot assist them with this decision. If you're not able to provide support with a particular decision, try to find someone else who can. Additionally, person-centered thinking training teaches participants tools for how to learn and best support others. If you have not taken person-centered thinking training or you need a refresher, I recommend registering for one of the classes offered through the Partnership for People with Disabilities at VCU. Supported decision-making is not the same as substitute decision-making. With supported decision-making, the person with a disability keeps all of their rights and makes all of the final decisions. This helps the person increase their self-determination, which decreases or reduces their chances of being abused or exploited. Supported decision-making can also increase a person's capacity and reduce the need for restrictive support or supports that limit a person's rights, like guardianship. With substitute decision-making, someone else is chosen to make decisions for the other person. This decreases the individual's feelings of self-determination. Substitute decision-making does not remove all risk and does not guarantee that people will not be abused or exploited. Some types of substitute decision-making, such as legal guardianship and conservatorship, are restrictive because they limit or prevent a person from being able to make their own decisions and can take away their legal rights. Supported decision-making uses the acronym SDM, and this is known internationally. In Virginia, we also use the acronym SDM to stand for Substitute Decision Maker. Supported decision-making is an act or a concept. It is not referencing a particular person. Substitute decision makers are particular people who are appointed to make decisions for someone else. It is important to make sure that you are aware of which type of support the acronym is referring to when you see it on documents or when you are referencing it. The next 3 slides provide a reference regarding the different types of decision-making options and what can be combined or not combined. For supported decision-making agreements, people can also have a power of attorney, an advance medical directive, a DBHDS authorized representative, a representative payee, and/or a fiduciary. However, you cannot have a legal guardian or a conservator when you have a supported decision-making agreement. When people have a power of attorney, they can also have a supported decision-making agreement, an advance medical directive, a DBHDS authorized representative, a representative payee, or fiduciary. However, they can also not have a legal guardian or conservator. For advanced medical directives, people can have a supported decision-making agreement, a DBHDS authorized representative, a representative payee or fiduciary, a power of attorney, a legal guardian, and a conservator. When people have an advanced medical directive and they list a power of attorney, the agent designated on the advanced medical directive or on their medical power of attorney document can only make decisions on behalf of the individual, but should be acting on the individual's wishes. Individuals who create an advanced medical directive while having capacity or legal competency, but then having a legal guardian or conservator, the advanced medical directive remains intact, as a legal guardian and a conservator cannot change what is made on the advanced medical directive. People with DBHDS authorized representatives can also have supported decision-making agreements, an advanced medical directive, power of attorneys, representative payees or fiduciaries, as well as a conservator. However, they typically cannot have a limited legal guardian or a full legal guardian. People with representative payees or fiduciaries can have supported decision-making agreements, advanced medical directives, power of attorney, DBHDS authorized representative, a limited legal guardian, and a full legal guardian. However, they would not have a conservator, as the conservator would be the one who oversees their financial matters. People with conservators would be able to also have a legal guardian, a limited legal guardian, a power of attorney, a DBHDS authorized representative, and an advanced medical directive, provided that the advanced medical directive was completed prior to the individual being deemed legally incompetent. They would not be able to have a supported decision-making agreement or a representative payee or fiduciary. People with limited or full legal guardianships can also have conservators, representative payees or fiduciaries, advanced medical directives, and DBHDS authorized representatives. However, these cannot be combined with supported decision-making agreements or power of attorney. People can have an advanced medical directive while also having a limited or full legal guardian, provided the advanced medical directive was created prior to the individual being deemed legally incompetent. Additionally, people with limited or full legal guardians can also have DBHDS authorized representatives, as some community service boards and providers will go through the process of appointing that legal guardian as the DBHDS authorized representative. Human rights regulations say that this process is okay to do. While supported decision-makings are not compatible with all types of decision-making, the concept or act of supported decision-making can always be used to determine a person's choice or decision. Remember, in situations where an individual has a substitute decision-maker, it is best practice and most person-centered for the individual to be part of the decision-making process in order to guide the substitute supporters. It is also important to ensure that anyone supporting or working with an individual who has any of these types of representatives listed throughout the previous slides thoroughly reviews the paperwork and understands the rights and responsibilities as outlined in the documents, as they will be different for every individual. The following 3 slides show links to Virginia regulations related to the information covered in this training. Live links can be found on the PDF version of this PowerPoint. On this slide, there are links to 3 human rights regulations related to participation in decision-making and consent, determination of capacity to give consent or authorization, and authorized representatives. This slide has links related to Virginia regulations on supported decision-making agreements, as well as the Healthcare Decisions Act, including information about capacity and required determinations for capacity. This slide includes links to Virginia's regulations related to guardianship of an incapacitated person and duties and powers of a guardian. Additionally, there is a link to the Uniform Power of Attorney Act. Additional resources related to the information covered in this training can be found on these websites. Links to these websites can be found on the combined question and answer document for this training and the PDF version of this PowerPoint. Both documents are located on the DBHDS website. please see the question and answers document on the DBHDS website for all questions asked during the live version of this training. For questions or more information about decision-making options in Virginia, including supported decision-making, please contact Sarah Thompson, Supported Decision-Making Community Resource Consultant Lead at the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. Her phone number is 804-869-0591, and her email is sarah.thompson@dbhds.virginia spelled out